right now. Not because I'm asking you to, but because what's living inside of you cannot be ignored for one more day. Out of 8 billion people on this planet, you are one of the rare few hearing this today. This wasn't the algorithm. This wasn't luck. You were navigated here because what I placed within you is so specific, so singular, and so necessary for this exact hour that even the heavenly hosts have paused to see what you will do with this message. I chose you before you even knew you needed to be chosen. And what I put inside you isn't something you find in a crowd. It isn't earned in a classroom. It can't be bought with hustle. I built you by hand. And today, you're going to discover what that means for everything that's coming next. Stay until the very end. Before this message is over, you will receive a protocol, a blueprint that will anchor in you what has been there since before you were born. But before we get there, I need to talk about something you've felt for a lot longer than you're willing to admit. It isn't just insecurity. It's something caught between self-doubt and a hidden certainty that you don't know where to place. It's that feeling of watching your own life from the outside as if you're slightly too big for the room you're standing in. But instead of stepping forward, you shrink back. Because every time you stepped out, someone shut you down. Every time you spoke up, someone interrupted you. Every time you revealed what you really felt, the silence that followed was loud enough to teach you that some things are better left unsaid. Think of that meeting where you raised your hand to contribute and the conversation just moved past you as if you hadn't spoken at all. It's not that they didn't hear you. It's that what you said didn't fit the frequency they were operating on. So you walked away thinking the problem was you. You learned to turn down your volume. You started walking into rooms with your expectations already set to low. Then there's that moment late at night, staring at your phone, scrolling through a never-ending feed. You see people doing things that feel smaller than what you know you're capable of. And instead of hope, you feel a dull ache. Because something inside you knows you were made for more. But nobody has ever told you exactly what that more is. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual, with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video. But nobody has ever told you exactly what that more is. So you stay in the cycle, productive enough to keep going, but stagnant enough to never truly launch. Or the conversation you tried to have with someone close to you, someone who loves you, and halfway through, you realized your words were too big for the container they had. The person listening was trying, but they couldn't reach the depth where you live. So you edited yourself. You watered it down. You gave them a smaller version of your heart just to keep the peace. You learned to translate up into down. It's not a lack of faith. It's a lack of a name for what you're carrying. You've stood your ground this long without a language for what's inside you. That isn't weakness. That's proof that what I put in you is resilient enough to survive until the moment of revelation. Today is that moment. Hitting the like button is your public testimony. Heaven records what you confess openly. Do it now. In this video, you're going to receive 3 things. First, the spiritual truth behind that feeling of being too big for your space. What you interpreted as arrogance or a misplaced dream, I placed there as a signal. That rarity you feel isn't vanity. It's the weight of what I installed in you before you were born. Today, that rarity gets a name. Second, a 3-step protocol you can execute today. Not tomorrow, not when things get better. Today, 3 concrete moves to start operating in your gift instead of just carrying it around like a burden. Third, a declaration. A sentence you will leave here knowing by heart. It will ring in your mind tomorrow morning when the noise of the world starts up again. A signal that what you received here wasn't just a passing feeling. Before I give you the promise, I need to give you this. I saw the exact second you almost gave up on believing you were special. I saw when the voice of doubt drowned out my voice. And I chose this moment to speak louder. Not because you finally earned it, but because the time has come. Stay until the end. Don't break the connection. How do you know I'm talking about you? Not a type of person, not a spiritual group. You. Specifically, close your eyes for a second. Or just look away from the screen. What I'm about to name needs to be received, not just processed. There are signs. Physical, observable signs that you probably didn't know were markers. I'm going to name them one by one. Sign number 1. You are deeply uncomfortable with the ordinary in a way you can't justify. It isn't laziness. It isn't arrogance. It's a constant friction between what is and what you feel should be. When you try to match the average pace of the people around you, something inside tightens. It's like wearing clothes 2 sizes too small. For years, you called this impatience. You called it a lack of gratitude. You tried to fix it like it was a character flaw. It wasn't. That is what happens when I put a dimension in someone that their immediate environment wasn't designed to hold. Discomfort with the ordinary isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that you were engineered for a level you haven't fully stepped into yet. Sign number 2. You see things before anyone else does. You identify the problem before it's even declared. You see the solution before the question is even asked. And most of the time, you stayed quiet because you learned that showing up too early with the answer has a social cost. It makes people uncomfortable. The room reacts with resistance. So you learned it's safer to wait for everyone else to catch up to where you already were. That isn't just common intuition. That isn't a skill you trained for. It's what happens when I install discernment as your default setting. You didn't work for this. I put it there before you even asked. Sign number 3. The people you never looked for who showed up at the exact right time. Not friends of convenience. I'm talking about the person who appeared the day after your worst nightmare. The mentor who walked in uninvited. The opportunity that arrived right after you stopped looking. You called it a coincidence. You called it luck, but there was a pattern you noticed and didn't know how to name. When I mark someone, I move the pieces. You don't see the movement while it's happening. But looking back, if you're honest, you can see the hand that never let go. Every right person at the right time was providence with a name. Sign number 4. You have a spiritual hunger that isn't satisfied by the things that satisfy everyone else. The sermon that everyone else loved felt like it only gave you half the story. The worship service that moved everyone else felt superficial to you by the next morning. The message that transformed your friend just left you with more questions. It's not that you're too much or difficult. It's that I gave you a thirst for my presence in the deep, not on the surface. That hunger isn't spiritual pride. It's the appetite I calibrated for someone who will need to know me intimately to fulfill their purpose. Hunger that the common can't kill is a sign you were made for the extraordinary. Sign number 5. There are people who, for no apparent reason, feel the need to shrink you. Not because you provoked them, not because you're competing, not because you did anything wrong, just by you being there. It's frustrating. It feels unfair. It is unfair, but there is a spiritual reason that changes how you see it. When I mark someone for a high purpose, the enemy notices before the person does. He attacks before the revelation happens. The disproportionate resistance you faced, the doors slammed in your face without explanation, the people who backed away for no reason. That wasn't bad luck. It was evidence of what you're carrying. No one wastes their time attacking something that has no value. This next sign is the hardest one to hear. It's the one the enemy has spent the most time trying to make you ignore. Receive this. Sign number 6. You survived things that statistically should have broken you. And instead of pure gratitude, you often feel a quiet sense of guilt for still being here, as if you didn't deserve to make it through while others didn't have that same protection, as if celebrating your survival is an insult to those who fell. That isn't humility. That is what the enemy does to the survival of the chosen. He tries to turn the clearest evidence of divine protection into a weight, into a debt, into discomfort. You didn't make it through by accident. I walked through it with you. Every single time, every night, every moment when your strength was gone and something nameless kept you going. I was there, and you are here because I needed you to reach this moment, whole enough to hear what is being said right now. Comment free if this word just reached your soul. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. This won't work if your attention is divided. There's a story in the Bible that people rarely tell from the right angle. David didn't become king the day Samuel poured oil on his head. That was the day of the promise, the day of confirmation. But it wasn't the day the anointing became real substance. That happened in the field. It happened the day David went alone against the lion that took a lamb from his flock. There was no prophet there, no human witness, no crowd to record it. There was David. There was the lion. And there was God. And it was in that total invisibility, in that action without an audience, that the man who would be king was formed from the inside out. After that day, David spent years being invisible to the people who should have recognized him first. His older, taller, more experienced brothers looked like leaders. He was the youngest, the forgotten one, the one left with the sheep while everyone else went to the front lines. And while he was being ignored, he was tuning his harp, writing psalms and shepherding the flock. Not to be seen, but because of who he was. Because what I installed in him kept maturing, even without anyone's approval. What I put in you isn't activated by applause. It doesn't grow through external validation. It matures in the field, in the invisibility, when you keep being who I made you to be, even when nobody is watching. The throne isn't won on the day of the inauguration. It's won on the day you act like who you are when you're all alone. Now here is the metaphor. There is a fish called the opa, also known as the moonfish. It is the only fully warm-blooded fish in the ocean. While every other fish around it relies on the temperature of the water to regulate its body, the opa generates its own heat internally through a unique mechanism in its gills. This changes everything for that fish. It can dive to depths where the cold would be lethal to any other creature. It can operate in zones that others have to avoid just to survive. It isn't affected by the environment the way the others are. Nobody taught the opa how to generate heat. It was born that way. The heat is structural, not learned, and no cold ocean can take away what was installed on the inside. You were built to operate in depths that others can't sustain. Not because you're trying harder, not because you practiced more, but because I made you different on the inside. The temperature you carry is internal. It doesn't depend on the world around you to exist. And when the world gets cold, and it will get cold, you're going to keep moving because your heat doesn't come from the outside. Comment below which one you identify with more. David in the invisible field or the fish that carries its own heat. Let me stop for one full minute. You got here after years of operating with a feeling of rarity that had no name. Years of discomfort from being too big for your space. Years of surviving things that should have crushed you. Years of seeing the truth before anyone else and staying quiet to avoid a fight. Years of being invisible to the people who should have seen you first. Here are the objective facts. First, the rarity you feel isn't an emotional fabrication. It's a spiritual fact that predates your birth. Second, what you carry isn't the result of your hustle. It was installed, placed, not built by you, but given to you, to be lived by you. Third, the resistance you faced is proportional to what you were designed to do. Nobody tries to take down something that isn't a threat. Fourth, you are alive, whole, and conscious in this exact moment after everything that tried to stop you. That isn't a coincidence. That is destiny being fulfilled. And here is who you are in the middle of all of it. Before I reveal it, I need you to hear this directly from me. I stopped to watch you before I ever created the world. Not after you were born. Not after you prayed for the first time. Not after you got something right or wrong. Before. Before everything you know as your story, I saw what you would be capable of carrying. I saw what you would do with what I installed. I saw the scope of what was possible through you. And I decided that this moment, on this day, would be the day you stop carrying your gift without knowing what's in your hands. What is in you isn't yours because you earned it. It's yours because I decided it would be. And my decisions are final. You are 3 things. And each one changes what you can claim, starting today. Your first identity, the high-capacity vessel. You were made to carry what others were not built to hold. I saw you when the weight hit, and you stayed standing when everyone expected you to fold. I saw you when the pain was enough to end any project, any relationship, any faith, and you kept going. I saw you in the moments when you carried alone what should have been shared, and you reached the other side with the cargo intact. I saw that you held up. Not because you're strong from training, but because I built the internal structure before I ever allowed the weight. The container came before the contents. The capacity was installed before the demand ever showed up. What this identity authorizes is this. You can stop apologizing for how much you can handle. You can stop downplaying what you've been through just so you don't look too intense or like a victim to others. You can stop pretending it was easy just to avoid intimidating people who haven't walked your path. You aren't a victim. You are proof that what I install does not break. Your second identity, the portal of access. You are the entry point for something greater into whatever room you walk into. I put a frequency in you that transforms your surroundings, not through a technique, not through calculated effort, but through your presence, through the way you walk into a room, through the quality of your silence, through the way you listen before you speak. I saw when you entered heavy environments and things started to shift without you doing anything intentional. I saw when your peace stabilized a situation that was collapsing. I saw when a single word from you, spoken without a script, changed the direction of something that was lost. I saw when your simple presence was enough for a closed door to start opening. What this identity authorizes is this. You can walk into places without shrinking yourself to fit. The place was prepared to receive what you bring, not the other way around. You don't need to compress yourself to avoid intimidating others. You need to position yourself to serve the change you were destined to bring. Your third identity, the air in motion. You aren't waiting for the inheritance. You are already walking inside of it. I have reserved things for you that your eyes haven't even seen yet. Not as a future reward conditional on your performance, but as a present reality unfolding as you move. There are provisions placed on your path before you even knew you'd need them. There are doors opened in silence while you were still learning to walk. There are connections being prepared for the moment you're ready to receive them. I saw every step you took when you didn't know where you were going. Every step was on a map I held for you while you couldn't see. You aren't behind. You are at the exact point in the journey where the inheritance starts to become visible. What this identity authorizes is this. You can act like someone who already has what is being delivered. Not faking it, not performing, but acting from the certainty that the decree has already been signed. Because it has. Comment the identity you recognize most in yourself right now. Portal of access, high capacity vessel, air in motion, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because the next word that comes needs to find you already in position. This protocol has a name, It's called the Internal Recognition Protocol. There are 3 steps you can take today. Not when you feel ready. Today. Step 1. Name it out loud. Before you go to sleep tonight, you are going to say those 3 identities out loud in your room. High capacity vessel. Portal of access. Air in motion. Say them with the same natural ease you'd use to say your own name. Not as a motivational affirmation. Not as an attempt to convince yourself, but as a declaration of what already exists. You aren't convincing yourself you're special. You're registering out loud what was deposited in you before you were born. The voice activates what silent thought keeps asleep. What comes out of your mouth with intention carries authority that internal thought doesn't. Name it out loud. Step 2. Identify the environment. Tomorrow morning, before your day starts, identify one environment in your life that is operating below what you were built to bring. A relationship that asks you to be smaller than you are. A workplace where your real gift has never actually been called upon. A family dynamic that only works when you compress yourself. Not to fix it tomorrow morning, but to recognize, clearly and without guilt, that you have been too big for that space for too long. This isn't arrogance. It's a spiritual fact. It's information. And clear information is the first move toward real change. Simple recognition starts moving what was stuck. Step 3. An act of presence. Today, before the day ends, do one thing in your immediate environment that only someone who knows what they carry would do. Not a big visible show. A gesture of presence. A word of care for someone who needed to hear it. A small decision made from who you know you are, not from what the environment says about you. A response that's different from the one you would have given before this message. An act of presence is when you act from your identity before the environment changes to match it, before the validation comes, before the confirmation appears. The act creates the field before the field creates the act. The sign that this protocol has been received isn't euphoria. It isn't a high-energy emotion that makes you want to call everyone you know. It's a quietness, a knowing that settles in your chest and asks for nothing else. If you feel that, you are in the right place. If you are receiving this protocol, comment "received." In the next 72 hours, 3 tactics will be launched against you, not as a possibility, as a certainty. Tactic 1. Strategic comparison. In the next few hours, someone you know is going to have a visible win. A promotion, public recognition, an achievement everyone talks about. And a thought will come that sounds like humility, but is actually poison. See? They're moving forward. You're stuck. This comparison won't feel like an attack. It will feel like rational evidence. It will use real facts to build a false conclusion about your progress. Your weapon against it is this. Who you are doesn't change based on someone else's pace. The map I hold for you doesn't use someone else's calendar as a reference. You aren't competing with anyone's timeline. Tactic 2. The noise of the urgent. Something urgent will pop up in the next 72 hours to fill the exact space where you should be processing what you received today. A small crisis that feels huge. A demand that could wait, but feels like an emergency. An invitation that needs an immediate answer. A situation that demands all your attention right when you need silence the most. The enemy knows that revelation without processing doesn't take root. The attack won't be against the message. It will be against the space you need for it to sink in. Protect a moment of quiet in the next 72 hours like it's the most important thing on your calendar. Because it is. Tactic 3. The familiar voice. This is the most dangerous one. Someone close to you, someone you genuinely love who has known you for a long time, is going to say something, without meaning to hurt you, that sounds like confirmation that what you received today was too much. It won't be a direct attack. It will be a casual observation about reality, a well-intentioned comment about being practical, a question that starts with, "But have you thought about?" That voice isn't the enemy, but it will be used. Your weapon is to recognize it without needing to answer it. You don't have to defend what you received. You don't have to convince anyone. You just have to protect the seed until the roots are strong enough to defend themselves. And after those 3 external tactics, there is an internal enemy that will try to use the protocol against you. It will tell you that you did the steps wrong, that your declaration didn't sound right enough, that the identity you chose wasn't the most honest one, that you didn't feel the quietness exactly how you were supposed to. Spiritual perfectionism is the most elegant way to keep someone stuck without it looking like resistance. You don't need to do the protocol perfectly. You just need to do it. Comment, "Protected. The decree is sealed. Do this now." Place both hands open on your lap, palms facing up. A posture of receiving, not hustle, not striving. The posture of someone about to receive what has already been reserved. Take one deep breath and let it out. Now, in your mind, look back at everything you've carried without a name. That feeling of being too big and having nowhere to put it. That discomfort with the ordinary you tried to call a flaw. The rooms where you were invisible to people who should have seen you. The moments you survived without knowing why. The conversations where you watered yourself down to fit. The nights where the certainty of who you were clashed with the reality of what was happening. Bring it all to the surface one last time and let it go. Not because you're forgetting it, not because it wasn't real, but because its job is finished. That weight served to shape you. It built the structure I needed in you for the next chapter. But you don't have to carry it as your identity anymore. You can carry it as your history, as evidence, as proof that what I install does not break under pressure. Now hear what I have to say to you. I saw that night you stood in front of the mirror before anyone else was awake and wanted to stop believing you were special. I saw when you turned down the volume of your own voice to fit into spaces that were never built for what you carry. I saw every room where you spoke and the conversation just kept going as if you'd said nothing. I saw when you brought the edited version of yourself just to keep from making people uncomfortable, and you left feeling like you'd traded your soul for temporary acceptance. I saw every moment when your spiritual hunger went ignored while everyone else said it was enough. I saw when the resistance hit and you started wondering if the problem was you. I was there in every one of those moments. Not as a distant observer keeping score, but as the one holding up what you couldn't hold anymore. As the one keeping the thread intact when everything seemed to be coming apart. You didn't get here on your strength alone. You got here because I decided you would. And now that you're here, there is no going back to who you were before you knew what you had. What was revealed today cannot be uninstalled. You are leaving this message as an air in motion, as a portal of access, as a high-capacity vessel. This isn't who you're going to become after a lot of work. This is who you have always been. And from today on, it has a name. And what has a name can be lived in. What has a name can be lived from the inside out. What has a name can no longer be ignored as just a feeling. Before you comment, say it out loud right now. It is done. I am not the person I was when this message started. Say it. Out loud, not in your head. Use your voice. What comes out of your mouth carries a different authority than what stays inside. Amen. Comment, finished, or it is done. Not because it's a channel requirement, but because it's the truth. Now think of one person. Just one. Not a group. One specific person you know who is carrying something they don't have a name for yet. Someone who feels too big for their space, but hasn't found the language. Someone who survived things that should have broken them and doesn't know what to do with that survival. Send this video to them right now. Not tomorrow. Now. And if they want to go deeper than what they received here, The link is in the first comment, waiting for them just like it waited for you. The next video will show you what happens when you start acting like an air in motion before the environment changes to match. What changes on the inside before it changes on the outside. What to expect in the first few days after receiving your identity. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this message began. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.